So my segment is on this book called Practicing What. Yeah. No, I think that was a good topic of solitude and silence. That you kind of just take some time away to be with God. And like Tommy said, it just, you walked for a long time just getting that silence, and it helped you, did it not? Right? Yeah. And I feel like it's a good thing that people take for granted, specifically me, because I am the type of person who always has headphones in. I'm always listening, doing something. And it's really hard for me sometimes to just sit down and just focus on God and be in that solitude and silence without the distractions of life. And so, yeah, that's a good thing. Which, if you guys don't have any extra thoughts,
I don't think so.
yeah, which leads me into my segment on this, which is prayer, which goes with those three, silence and solitude, which you tend to be in sometimes about prayer, and then fasting reminds you of God. Pray. Yeah, and so first off, I just wanted to say that this topic is not like what I'm gonna say. Don't take it as absolute truth, kind of like the shtick at the beginning.
Only take ours as absolute truth.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, that's a joke, by the way.
I'm just a 15-year-old. This is just what my point of view is for this. And so I'm gonna talk a little bit, share a little bit, and then I'm gonna ask you guys some questions. And so, prayer for me goes hand in hand with what our youth group used to call quiet times, which is where you sit down in that silence and solitude, and you pray and you read scripture, and you just take that time for God. But that can just be a template for what it is. It doesn't have to be this. Like, if I had to define it, it would just be take time out of your day to be with God. And I feel like it's important to make it personal to you. Like for me, what I do is I'll go into my room every night and I will sit down in my bed, I'll open my Bible, and sometimes this book that I'm going to mention later, it's not the book that everybody else is talking about. And I will pray that God will lead me somewhere in the passage that I'm going to read. And I'll read the passage, I'll take notes on it, and then I'll pray afterwards about what I read and stuff. And then that's kind of it, and I just go to sleep. But for some people, like listening to music or like going out on the walk like Tommy did, sometimes doing those things can help you get into that mindset about being with God. And so I think that it's just important that the whole point is that you talk to God and that you're praying to Him in your own way and making that time specifically about Him. And so for my first question, do you guys do those said quiet times or just take time out of your day to pray and be with God?
Not anymore. I used to.
Not anymore.
I used to.
What did you used to do? Like, what was the routine if you had one?
Before school, this was back when I was in high school, so I was up on time earlier. But I would take 10 minutes right before I left, and I would just sit there. And I wouldn't set a timer. I would just sit there, let God speak to me, speak to Him, and just as soon as I felt it's over, I would go leave and start my day.
Yeah. Tommy, did you or do you do anything like that?
Yeah, for a long time I'd spend an hour almost every night, like reading and praying in scripture and stuff like that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But I mean, I haven't. I'll do it occasionally, like
Yeah.
once every like 2 weeks or something like that. But
Yeah, it's not like a habit of every day.
if there's something that needs to be prayed for, then I'll pray for it in the moment. But
Mm-hmm.
otherwise, I don't have like a routine.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I try to. I think I oftentimes I'm just will kind of flow in and out of, talking to God about something, but
Yeah.
I really need to do better at the kind of carving out that time and space
Mm-hmm.
to be more intentional with it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it also is really important that you just find a specific time and just do it.
Mhm.
Like, that's what I did. I set a time. I said right before I'm gonna go to bed.
I'm sorry. Hold on. I just did.
It's a water bottle, okay?
For the audio listeners, Tommy is the largest water bottle known to humankind right now. Please.
Not that big,
It
okay?
just makes you look like you're like a tiny miniature person.
It's the opposite of the Shaq effect when he drinks a water bottle.
Yeah. Shameless plug, but go to the YouTube, look at the water bottle, and then watch the entire
I'm
podcast.
so sorry. I derailed the whole thing. I just couldn't keep it together.
No, that's
You just
fine.
both hands on this massive. It's like, what is it? A gallon? Is it a gallon?
It's probably like
It's got to be a gallon.
That has
it's
to be
gotta
more
be
than
at
a
least
gallon.
a gallon. Gallon and a half maybe.
3,800.
No, that's about a
Milliliters?
gallon. Yeah.
3,800 milliliters. I'm not a scientist.
What is
I don't-
3,800 milliliters in gallons?
I think it's about a gallon.
It's 0.84 gallons.
So,
Okay, so it's almost
So
a
it's
gallon.
basically a gallon.
that is 3,800. So the whole thing.
If
is
you filled it
probably
all the
a
way,
gallon.
it's about
Yeah.
a gallon.
Which I started with that.
That's a lot of water.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so what I was saying about picking a time, what I did is I set a time. I said right before I go to bed, I am going to take time for God. And it's really hard to do in the beginning. Like, I was talking to my friend Jared today during church about it, and he was like, yeah, man, it's really difficult to kind of keep in the habit of doing it, which I can agree. And one of the big things that I kind of did for myself was to get in the habit of doing it, because once you're in a habit, it kind of is like natural. Like, for me now, every night I'm just like, oh, quiet time. And so, but what I did to kind of start that was, it sounds weird, but I like forced myself to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just
Yeah.
make myself
Yeah.
open the Bible and pray or do something. And forcing myself to do it, it actually becomes good. It was kind of like relieving and a little fun
Yeah.
to do it. And so it's just the struggle of not wanting to fall asleep and just actually setting your mind on doing it,
Mm-hmm.
which if you do a different time of day, it might be better. That's just the best time for me to do it. To each
I did
their
it in
own.
the morning.
Yeah. But yeah. Now I'm on. Tonight will be 260 days straight
Would have try hard.
of doing that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long
Woulda
time.
try hard.
I like what you said though about like, it's the same thing with any habit. I think that if you
Mhm.
want to form a good habit, it's like you have to put in a lot of hard work at the beginning.
Yeah, and,
And- but it-
discipline.
Once it becomes a habit, then it becomes a habit, right? And so you
Yeah,
think about it a
exactly.
little bit less. It's more natural.
I don't remember if it was exactly 60 or 90 days. It was somewhere around that range. That if you do that, something for every day for 60 to 90 days, something somewhere in there, it essentially becomes a habit. And
Yeah.
that's after
Mhm.
that, it's just normal for you, and
Yeah.
it is part of your daily life. So
Yeah.
200, whatever you said, 80,
260 tonight.
60.
As of this moment right now, it's 259, technically.
Okay, so 260.
And a half.
That's way past 60 to 90. So
Yeah, it's
definitely a habit.
like I said, as soon as I go into my room at night, it's time to spend time with God.
That's cool.
And I feel like once you just start that and you force yourself to do it for like that 60 to 90 days, for me it was like a month, maybe a month and a week or so. I was in that habit. And now I will say, it's not every single night I pray, read, pray. It can be sometimes just take a little like 2-minute prayer.
Yeah.
And that can be. Tommy pulled out the water bottle again. It's so distracting.
So ridiculous.
I'm trying so hard. I just keep thinking about it.
Yeah.
I should get
Anyways,
a bigger one. I should get a 2-gallon one.
Don't. You're gonna derail the entire podcast.
I got 1, you got 2, you got 3, you got 4.
How do you carry around a 4-gallon water bottle?
I'm sure that we have one. Those giant things.
Oh, that's like 5 gallons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
One of those is a
The big
water
one.
bottle.
Yeah. But back to the.
Anyways.
Yeah,
So
anyways.
sorry,
Yes.
Joel.
What was I saying?
Who knows?
You derailed me.
Well, you were talking
I think
about
my
you just.
water bottle would be real.
It is a habit for you now. Like you just
Oh,
go into your room
yeah.
and
Mm.
at night, and you're just.
Yeah.
It's just kind of automatically that's what
I
you're
was
doing.
gonna say, is it like. It doesn't have to be that strict routine every single night.
Sure.
And because for me, if I do the same thing every single day, I'm gonna get bored of it, and I'm gonna not want to do it again. And so, like I said, what I do sometimes is, sometimes I will just say like a little prayer. Sometimes I'll just say a really really long prayer about something. Sometimes I won't pray before I read. Sometimes I'll pray before I read, and then sometimes I won't take notes on whatever I'm doing. Sometimes I'll read this great book, Revive How the 7 Letters of Revelation Can Awaken Your Soul by Ed Love. And yeah, and I feel like mixing it up for me is important because I'll just get bored of it.
Sure. Yeah.
But on that same note, you mentioned kind of discipline in doing that. And in that book that I just said, Revive by Ed Love, there's a section in the beginning that talks about discipline, and he says, like, it's important to know, direct quote, this is a direct quote, it's important to know that the word disciple is the root word for discipline, which
Yeah. Right.
I found is really cool. And it kind of, like, he uses examples of, like, when you think of discipline, like, what do you guys think of when you think of discipline? Like, the first thing that comes to your mind. Practicing.
For me, I'd say the first thing that comes to my mind is more like a parent disciplning a child, like
Yeah.
almost punishment.
Mm-hmm. Tommy, what do you think?
You guys, I think mine's weird, but starve the flesh. That's what I think of.
Yeah.
That comes from like Johnny Chang. You guys probably don't even know who that is.
No, I have no idea.
But why was that funny? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah,
Okay.
he mentions, like, schoolwork, diets, workout routines. But I think it's good to draw the discipline back to that root word of disciple. And, well, the other way around. Disciple is the root word of discipline. Right?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I think that's how you said it.
Yeah. And so, I feel like just bringing God into it, like you said about fasting, and bringing God into that rotisserie chicken. We can use that to make God help us in our discipline, and to use that for, like, taking time for God. And yeah, it takes effort in a lot of cases, and that's kind of like I said about forcing myself to do it. It took work to actually get it to where I can do 260 days straight. But my next question is, do you guys think it is, like, essential to pray every day? Not just, like, quiet time, like, just pray.
Yes.
Yes?
I mean, I don't.
Yes.
I don't know if it's necessarily essential to do it every single day, but I mean, I think, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the more the better. The more
Yeah.
that you're, you know, being with God. I think praying is, you know, a way of being with God, and so I think that
Yeah.
probably, I think that probably a lot of us are doing that, even if we're not fully aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
What's your definition of essential? Because like I don't think it's like essential to like get into heaven or like anything like that.
Well, yeah, it's just like, I don't know,
I think it's like
not like a rule, but like,
I think it's one of the like base things, like one of the things you think of first
yeah,
as of a Christian is praying.
yeah, like, kind of like essential to having like a good healthy walk with Christ, I guess.
Yeah.
Not saying that if you don't pray every day, you're going to hell. That's not what I'm saying.
Like I say I have a good relationship with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I talk to you guys twice, 3 times, maybe 4 times a week.
Yeah.
And like I have like my parents I talk to every day. I have some other people I talk to about every day. And I have pretty good relationships with them. But I would say like the more I talk with people, the closer I am with them.
Yeah. Tommy, what are your thoughts? You look like you're thinking.
I don't necessarily think it's essential either to like your faith, but I think it can strengthen your faith, and I think the point of saying you're a Christian or a Jesus follower is saying that you have a relationship with God.
Yeah.
So if that helps to strengthen your relationship with God, then I think that's good for you.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
may not be the case for everyone though.
A disciple of Jesus.
There you go.
Discipline. Yeah, but I kind of agree with all of you guys in a little bit, because it's like you said, the more the merrier.
Yeah.
The more you do it, I think the better. But like Tommy said, I don't think that it's a must. Like it's a strict rule that you
Yeah.
have to follow. Like if you miss a day, I think you're fine. I don't
Yeah,
think that
yeah,
you're
I
gonna.
don't-
I don't think God's gonna disown you off of that. But I think it's important to pray and talk with God frequently,
Yeah.
and I think that can be important, and so that you can keep in touch with God.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, I think your mentality, you know, plays a lot into it. Like, are
Mhm.
you thinking about what do I have to do, or are you thinking about, like, I love Jesus and I trust Jesus, and so I wanna follow Jesus and I wanna spend time with Jesus,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Yeah.
like, well, okay, do I have to pray? It's like, well, maybe that's not even the best like place to start from,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Like with my quiet
Yeah.
times and me forcing myself, like I want to do it
yeah,
and I want to strengthen my faith that way.
yeah,
It's just sometimes I'm really tired.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all, but you're doing it all because you want a deeper relationship with Jesus,
Yeah,
right? Not
exactly.
just because you're trying, like, because you think this is the rule that I have to follow, and so.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
You
being
know.
intentional with how you do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so my next question in that Revive book by Ed Love, again, his definition of prayer in this book, which he did get from another book, but he put it in this book. He says it's conversing with God about what we're experiencing and doing together. Now, do you guys agree with that, disagree with it, have anything to add, subtract from it?
Can you say it one more time?
Conversing with God about what we're experiencing and doing together.
I think that's a good way of seeing prayer, but I think there's also like an aspect of like you can request stuff, you can ask for forgiveness, but I think the best prayers I've had have just been like me saying, "This has been my day. Anything to learn from it?"
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, even the requesting for stuff and asking for forgiveness and stuff like that, that's still stuff we're doing here. Like, you committed those sins here, and you're still here with other people
Mm,
also
Mm-hmm.
asking for
I
forgiveness.
guess that's true.
So, I mean, I think that's a great definition of what prayer should look like.
Yeah, it's
I
a
mean,
good baseline.
Yeah, and like what Nick said, like it branches off. It's not just as simple
Mhm.
as that. There's more complex.
Yeah, like I don't think that this is what I don't think he's saying that this is the one and
Yeah.
only definition.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
for
it's
sure.
just for the purpose of the segment of this book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what he put in there. Yeah, Brian, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, conversing with God. Yeah, just talking with God. But, it doesn't have to. I mean, Jesus gives us that model of prayer,
Mm-hmm.
right? And, but yeah, I think it's just, talking with God. And then I think, there can also be those times where, I guess conversing kind of captures it, but that time where maybe I'm gonna be silent and I'm gonna just actually try to listen and
Mhm.
give God space, and
Mhm.
maybe
Yeah,
he'll say
conversations. Unless you're like a terrible person, you usually listen to the other person when they speak too.
it goes both ways. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so conversing really does capture that. It's not conversing doesn't just mean that it's just me talking to God the whole time, but
Mhm.
actually I'm gonna make some time to listen as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that that's all right. And I think that another aspect is giving thanks to God.
Yeah.
That me personally, would put in there in my, not definition, but how I model my prayers usually.
Yeah.
I'll try to give thanks the most that I can about stuff, and I think that can be important, recognizing that it's from God. Like that rotisserie chicken.
Yeah. Man,
That's a thing now.
the amount
Yeah.
of
The rotisserie
callbacks.
chicken from God.
Yeah.
Yeah, gratitude is great, and just what it does, I think, for your kind of mentality and your heart posture, to practice gratitude.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I think we kind of already touched on this with you, Brian, what you said like 10 seconds ago or something. But an important aspect to me is getting in the right mindset of prayer. And so, like, what mindset do you guys get into when you guys are gonna pray? Like, even you can go further if you want to about the mindset thing, but you can like say your surroundings if you want.
I try to go into sort of the flow state where essentially I'm concentrated on just that,
Mm-hmm.
but that's really hard to achieve.
Yeah.
Usually I get as close as like just not listening to the sounds around me, like not paying attention to any of my senses, but just thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like going into your own head.
yeah. Just sort of like sit there, I'll try and stop some of it to listen for a little bit, then try and talk again, and then stop. And so I just try and make it, that's my focus.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's kind of two sides of a coin that happen for me, which is like repentance. I think like a healthy form of repentance is like a good way to start and a good mentality to be in, of
Mhm.
like and just confessing sin and just kind of acknowledging your place before God, I think. But I think for me sometimes and I don't think that this is like a healthy thing that happens, but it's just my experience. I think a lot of times when I go to pray, I'm just instantly reminded of like my sin, but like in a shameful way.
Yeah,
And
I
it
get
feels
that.
like
I get that.
like who are you to even be talking to God or whatever, that kind of a thing. And so I don't know, that's just something that I have to work through, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tommy.
A lot of the time I try and like quiet, like be at peace, be quiet surroundings, like just calm myself. I don't want to be like overly emotional or the
Mhm.
opposite, like
Like going on your
avoid
walk.
what.
Like going on that walk that you
Yeah.
took.
Yeah, like, but I feel like God invites us to come as we are, not as
Yeah.
we think we should be. So I mean, in a way, yeah, like praying every day, even when we're mad, we're sad, we're whatever. Like, I can kind of see that, how that would be good, coming as you are.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's like just trying to get into that mindset where I'm trying to talk to God and I'm not trying to let these material things like distract me, like my phone. My phone, when I go to bed, is usually in my parents' room, so I don't even have the chance to, which I think is good. I don't want my phone in my room when I'm trying to go to sleep or spending time with God. Just I feel like it takes away from that mindset, in that, like you said, trying to get into that flow state kind of, but like just trying to get in that mindset. This is God's time and God's time alone. I'm trying to strengthen my relationship with Him. And I feel like that aspect of coming as you are, not trying to change yourself coming to God, but I feel like changing your mindset and maybe your surroundings and circumstances. No, well, not circumstances. You know what I'm trying to say, right? Yeah, I feel like that can be important in trying to have like a good conversation.
And I mean, changing yourself will come through interacting with God.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't try and change yourself before God. You should change yourself with God.
I feel like that can come throughout the
Yeah.
quiet time or prayer.
Yeah, exactly.
And like with your walk, if I use that example, you're overwhelmed and stuff, and so you wanted to go on that walk to find that peace, I'm assuming. And I'm assuming you came back better.
Yeah. I came back and I was like talking to my brother like a normal day.
Yeah, and so that change that happened in you happened throughout that peaceful time. And I feel like if we use that to help us strengthen our relationship and how we pray to God, it can be good. And I feel like what you said a little earlier, Bri, about being intentional about it. And yeah, just like making it God's time. And so I'll close with this little thing I'm going to say. So yeah, for me, prayer is super important to stay in touch with God and to be able to give thanks to God and to even ask for help sometimes. And also just to give thanks to God for what He's done for me. And just sitting down and reading some scripture, meditating on it, and just making that time for God, and I think is good for me, and it's been really important, and it's been one of the biggest aspects of my walk with Christ.
That's good.
Cool.
It's good.
Yeah.
Prayer is important.
Yeah.
All
Prometheus.
Oh,
Probably should get back on camera.
Yeah, also try not to lean super that way,
Yeah,
because
oh, I
your
know,
shoulder
that's
was
what-
like a little bit out of
my
frame.
whole head was out of frame when I stretched.
Yeah.
Guys, we're at an hour and 40 minutes.
got decapitated.
This episode is gonna be long.
And like
Yeah,
Unless
30 minutes of that was Legos.
yeah. We can cut out the Legos if we want
We might
to.
need to cut Legos.
no, we can keep Legos. It can just be 2 hours. It's
And
fine.
like 10 minutes of that was me taking a dump. So
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. There's things like that we can
It's
cut.
probably only gonna be like maybe hour 20,
I would say
See, when
hour
you-
30, hour
Hour-
40.
30, yeah, probably, depending on
Depending.
how long your segment takes.
Yeah.
And like
You
this
can
right
also-
now is getting cut out.
nah.
Can also always just cut it down and turn it into 2.
Oh, nice one, Tommy.
Yeah, maybe we might be able to make it just part 1 and 2.
Maybe it's gonna be 2
if we
hours.
want
Oh
to.
yeah, we could. Yeah. We'll see.
Anyways.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I don't think that we could, because I feel like the segments run together too well.
Yeah, that would be hard.
And calling back a different podcast so much with the rotisserie chicken would be hard.
We should make that just a thing in our podcast now. We just
Yeah.
have to mention rotisserie chicken.
Oh yeah. Also
The
the
3 M's.
3, yeah, exactly.
Musk, Moon, Mars.
Yeah.
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 Musk, Moon, and Mars.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the
Do
3
you remember
M's.
that from the?
I do. I I
don't
didn't
remember
catch
how it
exactly
came.
how it started.
I don't either.
It was like, don't do something.
Oh,
Don't be Elon Musk.
yeah, I think that's what it was, honestly.
Don't be the moon?
Don't be Mars.
Well, don't go to Mars. Don't be like the Martians. That's what it was.
I don't remember.
Because, yeah. Okay.
Starting
All right, we
Anyway.
can. That's
Okay.
all getting cut out.
I kind of wanted to talk about humility. And a lot of people have a preconceived notion of what humility is. And it's not like a self-deprecating, like, I'm a horrible person, kind of humility. It's more of like the kind of humility that wrecks you, but also rebuilds you, So, what would you guys define humility as?
I would say just understanding we're not perfect and just essentially not putting ourselves above anybody else. Just understanding our flaws and saying we're essentially everybody else is just as important as us.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Like understanding who you are, understanding who God is. Yeah, and I mean that's what Nick said is such a huge part of it is specifically understanding that everybody is just as valuable as me, no matter what, and
Yeah, for me, it's also what you guys said, and to add on to that, kind of me personally, would be, like, for example, if you, like, win an event or do something really good, and in the Bible it says, in some parts, to be humble about that, and to give all that glory to God, and just not being, like, a bad winner, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I know a lot of people that'll post, like pictures of wearing medals and stuff like #1. Look what I got. Look what I did.
Yeah.
It's cool to win, but
Yeah, I've done that several times.
I would
Yeah.
never do
There's a
such
picture on my Instagram that you can go and look at. That's my whole cross country team having medals,
yeah.
which that was a little more team success. But
See, every time I beat you in board games, I'm perfectly humble and I never brag at all.
Definitely not.
not true.
Oh, well, yeah, I totally rubbed it in your face the other day when I won twice in a row at a game I just learned how to play. So, yeah, no, obviously we're perfect at being humble. So,
Yeah.
moving on.
but I think too, like even with that, there's a difference in
Yeah.
Celebrating and being.
Well, yeah, I think like coming from a place of knowing who you are. Like if you accomplish something and you're bragging about it because you think you're better than people or like you're obviously better than the people that you beat. But I mean like if you're like I think that like your identity comes from that or like I'm more valuable than people because of this or whatever, because I think it's okay to be like, happy that you accomplished something.
Yeah, like I think there's a difference between celebration
Yeah.
and putting others down because of it.
Yeah, totally.
Like after I won my 3K race in my first track meet, I was pretty happy, and I think that I was okay to celebrate that and be happy about that. Like, I don't think it's a sin to be happy about a good accomplishment.
Yeah.
Just don't, like, brag and rub it in people's faces.
Yeah.
True.
Which I think I definitely did. But
I feel like it can go the opposite way, too, when you lose. Like, being happy for the other person rather than,
like being a gracious loser.
Yeah, sure. Like, not being, so sad and, like, you know, disappointed. Or I mean, you can be disappointed, you know, because that sucks. You didn't win.
Yeah, like in
But-
basketball, our coaches, they would say, if you do bad, you miss a shot, it's okay to be frustrated. Those are just natural emotions. You're gonna have those emotions. And I think it's what a good thing that they said is it's important. You can be frustrated, but immediately after, you don't sulk on it. You don't
Mhm.
take a ton of time. You don't let it ruin your day.
Mhm.
You move on. It's what they used is next play mentality. Like if you miss a shot on one play, okay, I missed the shot. Now I'm back on defense. It's time to play good there.
Mhm.
And so I think it's important to have that next play mentality, so to speak.
Well, in like baseball, at the end of every game, you line up and you give everybody a high five.
Yeah,
good
that's
game,
with
good game,
like
good
every
game.
sport.
Yeah.
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 Except in
It's-
track. Too many people.
So it's like, you know, you're not focusing on the fact that you
Mhm.
lost or you won. You're still saying that was a good game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was fun. So
And you can fake it till
Yeah.
you make it. I mean,
The main reason I stopped playing Magic the Gathering at Wild Things Games is
it's the
because
board game.
is because all of the people there, not all of them, some of them are really awesome, but most of them would essentially after every game they'd be like, "Oh, you just got lucky. If I got this card or if I got this card, I would have won and you would have lost.
Making
You're still
excuses.
bad." Yeah, and it just was like, it was unfun whether they won or lost, or because if they won they'd be like, "Oh, I'm the best player," and if they lost, they would just be like, "I'm still the best player."
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of rubbed off on me, and I'd be like, "Oh, well, if I could have drawn this card, I would have won." And I caught myself saying that a couple times. I was like, "What am I doing?
Yeah.
It's a game."
Yeah. It's just a card
And
game.
so I had to just distance myself from that because
Mhm.
some of them were great. They were like, "Oh, that was a really good combo you did there," or "That was a
Mm-hmm.
awesome play. That's a cool combo. It's a cool deck."
They're good examples of
Yeah. And I loved playing with them,
Mm-hmm.
but then they stopped coming. So
Yeah. And I feel like those people who are those gracious losers, gracious winners, who are really good about it and humble, I feel like it's important to surround yourself with them. Like you
Mhm.
said, you liked playing with them.
yeah,
I feel like it's more enjoyable. I feel like it rubs off on you. And I feel like it's just overall a better experience if you surround yourselves with those kind of people.
Mhm. Yeah. So I wrote down kind of what I thought was a good definition of humility. I said true humility is realizing that you are an imperfect sinner in need of more than you can give yourself. It's knowing the world can't fill you and neither can your own performance. So whether you win or lose, your performance is not, you know, yeah. And then
Mhm.
you also cannot be filled by this world. So
Yeah.
you,
that's
like,
important. Yeah.
yeah, so like what we talked about with pleasure, you know, and like food and stuff. That can fill
Rotisserie
you.
chicken.
That can fill you. You can feel good, but will that honestly? Will that selfishness? Like, you know, that's not gonna actually fill you.
Yeah.
But-
Those calories, you will burn them. It
Yeah.
will go away.
Like Jesus said to the woman at the well, "I give you water that you'll never have to be thirsty again."
Mhm.
Something like that. I'm
Yeah.
terrible at
Yeah, that's pretty
quoting,
much
but
it.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So when I was a kid, though, this was something that was kind of dangerous for me, because my old youth pastor, not that one, he talked about humility a couple of times, and then I started noticing, was like, oh, I'm not humble at all, you know, and it was bad. I was like, this is not good, you know, and so I started following my patterns and like trying to fix it, but then I got so fixated on it, I started getting into depression and like sad behaviors, and it was just not a healthy pattern of thinking, because I was so focused on changing myself and being humble and being like, no, I'm not actually good at anything. And it was like, yeah, it was not a good thing for me to do. So how do you guys think we can prevent ourselves from being, or how do we be humble without being so humble that we think we're worthless all the time?
I think it can be hard because I feel like it's hard to balance that. Like, I use a metaphor of like a pendulum. It's hard to balance that thing in the middle. You can swing it to one side of the extreme, you can swing it to the other side of the extreme. And it can be hard sometimes to land that middle ground where it's just good and you're not being down on yourself and you're not being too up on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just hard to realize that. And I feel like through discipline and work, I feel like you can slowly get better at trying to realize that, and maybe just like having it in your brain constantly,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the fasting, how it reminds you of that, and how you brought up, I think last episode, how you can relate one thing to another with habits, and like the dogs and the bell or click
Pavlovian,
some, yeah.
that thing.
And I feel like if you set something like that up, I don't know how you'd do that. Just something that I thought of.
I think one way to do it is, instead of focusing on yourself, oh, I've done these things wrong, I've done this, this, and this, and I need to fix this, this, and this. It's more, to me, a just understanding, hey, I'm flawed, but Jesus redeemed me. And so just understanding you aren't perfect and trying to treat others the same way
Yeah.
that you should be treated.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think kind of to that point. Yeah, I think it's about focusing on others. You know, I think of Jesus' example of washing the disciples' feet and saying, "Now do this for each other." You know, serve each other, and
He
I
kind of set
think-
that example.
yeah, he set an example of that, and I think even for us, you know, thinking about how worthless we are, even that is it's a me focused thing, you know, like I'm focusing on myself even in that, whereas if I am actually focused on other people, maybe that helps
Mm-hmm.
take you out of that mentality of like, oh, I'm worthless, because it's like at the end of the day it's I'm not even thinking about myself, you know. The focus is thinking about others and how can I love and serve others like Jesus.
Yeah, it's funny you
Those
say
two.
that, because that's kind of what snapped me out of that, was like
Mm.
that I'm being selfish in that I'm focusing on my flaws, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I kind of had a couple of things.
You kind of haven't been fully having.
No, I didn't really have things. I just had a couple kind of things.
Yeah.
So, part of it was like, stop like pretending, you know?
That's good.
Yeah. Like, don't pretend to be a good person, or like put on a spiritual performance, is what I wrote down. Because I feel like some people they could say a lot of things and act a certain way in front of certain people, and just, you know, kind of put on a show and not show who they truly are. And it's unfortunate. And it's kind of like the Pharisees, like in Luke 18:9 through 14. I'll just read it real quick. He also told this parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and treated others with contempt. 2 men went up into the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee, standing by himself, prayed thus: God, I thank you that I am not like the other men, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week. I give tithes of all that I get. But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even lift up his eyes to heaven, but beat his chest, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, but the one who humbles himself will be exalted. I think it's kind of like a false platform, because we can put ourselves up here, but if God puts us up here, then yeah, different kind of platforms. He said the humble will be exalted, and we kind of put ourselves above other people when we are prideful. I think that's where pride before the fall comes from. You know, we'll get knocked off our platform eventually, back down to ground zero, you know?
Yeah, I feel like that can also kind of be interpreted like the first shall be last and last shall be first.
Yeah.
And the last, maybe in this situation, is kind of those people that are the most humble, that maybe go that extreme side where they're just down on themselves so much.
Sure.
This brought back a memory of a Bible Project video where it had a really good image of like essentially everybody on their own platform, and everybody's trying to push each other down. The people on top are using like really long sticks to push the other people down, and then they're also like climbing up to get at a higher spot at the same time. And then there was an image of Jesus going down from his highest platform slowly down, collecting everybody and lifting them up. And I think that is humility at its finest.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't remember what Bible Project episode that was, but I just remembered that, and I was like,
That's
oh,
one of them.
I think that it brought a couple things to mind for me too. We went to a conference where we got to hear a guy speak named Chad Moore at in Arizona, and he was talking about humility, and he was talking about how humility is just kind of like humility is reality, basically. Like for you to think more highly of yourself is for you to not see the reality, basically. And there were just a couple lines that he said that kind of always come to mind for me. He says humility is simply reality, and then he says pride is pretending. But then when it comes to us actually loving each other, he talks about how our lack of humility is kind of like a barrier to us having, good relationships. And the line that always sticks out for me is he says, nobody can love the person you're pretending to be because that person doesn't exist. And I think that's a really good line.
Yeah, kind of off of what you said, Preston Sprinkle talks about humility sometimes, and something he said was, the gospel isn't about making bad people good, it's about bringing dead people to life. That's like bringing those people at the bottom, up.
Yeah.
That's true humility.
Yeah.
So, yeah, saying I'm no better than this person all the way at the bottom.
Yeah. And that's Jesus' whole mission of the upside down kingdom, right? Elevating those
His
who are
whole
lower.
shtick, if you will.
Oh boy.
Anyways,
It's
okay.
the whole rotisserie chicken.
It's the whole rotisserie chicken.
Okay, so the first one was stop pretending. Second one was start confessing. So owning your sin and stop blaming everyone else.
Yeah.
Just blame yourself because it's your sin.
Yeah.
Own it.
Yeah. Kind of like what you said about reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just understanding, hey, I'm a human. The human part of humility. The hum.
Yeah.
The
And start. Yeah. So you can own your sin, stop blaming everyone else, and start saying like David, did in Psalm 51. Against you and you only have I sinned. So he's talking to God saying like, I've sinned against, other people or whatever, but really the only way it's a sin is because God said it was a sin, right? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one, surrender everything. Not just your Sunday mornings, it's more than that. It's every day that you have to be humble. Surrender your pride, your pride, your plans, and your opinions. None of your plans or your opinions are more important than anybody else's,
Yeah.
I feel like this is. I don't. What?
You're out of frame again.
Oh, my bad game. Okay. I don't like talking about this because James kind of taught me this. Like, we talked about it at one point. Like, you do things, but don't tell anybody. Like
Yeah.
yeah. And I did something earlier that was kind of like this. There was this guy in a wheelchair. He was in the middle of Safeway or whatever. And I had a bunch of things in my arms or whatever, and he had on his lap in his wheelchair a bunch of stuff, like a bunch of things, like 3 bags full of stuff. And he was behind me, and I laid my stuff down. I'm like, oh, that was heavy, I needed to put my stuff down, so I set it down, and then I started talking to him for some reason. I don't know why, but I started talking to him, and he started lifting one of the bags onto the thing, and I was like, all right. He was struggling though. He almost dropped it, and I catched it before it fell. Caught it. It's the same thing. And so I just started putting his bags on the thing, and it cost me more time, and I was in a rush kind of. I was wanting to get back here in time, so it cost me my time, which is something that, like I was saying, that go mentality earlier.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I struggle with a lot, is like get from one place to another quickly and as quickly as possible, because I want to be on time to everything. But like knowing that my plans aren't as important or aren't more important than other people's,
Yeah.
Maybe he has to be somewhere too, and by me helping him, he got there that much faster. Or, or just simply like that made his day better, knowing that someone is willing to help him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, yeah. Anything? Do you guys have anything to say?
I feel like you kind of already said it, but that kind of called back Bry's topic about
Slowing down.
slowing down and
Yeah.
stuff. And I feel like taking that time to help that guy was a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that all you had for your segment?
No.
I still have another 2 pages.
My goodness. I don't know if you should do the entire thing, because we've been recording for 2 hours now.
Okay, I'll speed it up. Okay, so James 4:10 says, "Humble yourselves before the Lord, and He will lift you up." So the same kind of thing, like He'll exalt you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
God doesn't respond to arrogance, but He rushes to the humble. I think that's a way that we can actively get closer to God. In the same way you come to God with your prayers, your requests, or forgiveness, or anything like that.
Yeah.
You can get closer to God by being humble as well. I like what Cliff Nettle had to say. Holy moly!
Is it a plane?
Yeah, that
It
is
kinda seems like
100% a plane. Anyways, okay.
Cool. That should be our podcast longer.
God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Not the perfect, not the strong, not the religious, the humble. So,
Yeah.
Sort of like the Beatitudes, blessed are all of these things you wouldn't normally think are good.
yeah, basically. I mean, like, examples of, like, the prodigal son and his brother, you know, in Luke 15,
Yep.
talks about, like, how the son was lost, but then he was found, and he was humble. He recognized his mistakes and that he had faults, you know, and that he needed to change. And his brother was like, "But I earned this spot, and yet you give this brother that doesn't deserve it all this," you know, stuff like that. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Now are you done?
What a hostile environment.
Yeah.
Okay.
No patience.
We'll talk a little bit about David, and then.
Yeah.
So David was pretty humble. I mean, in 1 Samuel, it talks about how he had the option to kill Saul twice. And he just, like, he didn't, obviously. He trusted that God had a plan, and he accepted that, you know, his plan wasn't better than God's, you know.
Yeah, God has
Yeah,
the path for your life.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, if I got into more, it would take even longer, so we'll just stop there.
Alright.
Cool.
Good.
If you want, like, what was that, like 10 minutes or so of us just talking about Legos?
It was like 20 minutes probably.
Yeah.
If you want an episode of us just talking about Legos, ask for it and we'll give it to you.
Or ask for other ideas too.
Ask and you shall receive.
Let's see what you
Unless
gotta
it's a
do
bad
is,
idea.
Unless it's a bad idea, you will not receive.
You gotta make a Patreon.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
if they
yeah.
subscribe to the Patreon, they get the full episode.
There you go.
That's so true.
For those
Nobody's
who
gonna
want
do
to
that.
listen to the 3-hour
We'll make
version.
it like
Nobody's gonna
We'll
pay
make it-
for our.
What if we make it $1?
no, make it like
$1.
10 cents.
They might give you $1.
10 cents.
I don't know. They might give us $1.
Yeah.
If you want a Patreon,
Comment down below.
comment on the YouTube, DM us on the Instagram.
There you go.
Also
Podcast
subscribe to
ideas.
YouTube.
Yep.
Subscribe, download the episodes.
Subscribe and hit that notification bell.
Yeah.
Smash
Rate our
that like
podcast. Yeah, let's hit a like goal of 10.
10.
How about 5?
No, I'd say 10. We have like 70 downloads.
Alright.
So
Well, now that we made this the cringiest thing ever,
yeah,
let's end this.
yeah.
Right.
Alright.
Wait, but make sure you leave a review because I've heard from every other podcast that I listen to that if you leave a review, then it makes it to where people find the podcast easier.
And comments.
said.
Comments also make it easier for it to show up on the YouTube algorithm.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
One last time for the shtick. This was just 3 of us teenagers and 1 youth pastor's views on all of this. Specifically the 3 teenagers.
I might
My-
pretend to be smart, but I'm not.
My presence here absolutely does not change the name of the podcast. You just change it to 4 instead of 3.
Yeah. Honorary 4th idiot.
That's gonna be every guest.
Yeah.
Their title.
Our honorary idiot.
Yeah. Alright, Tommy?
This has been.
No,
Wait.
say your name first.
I'm Tommy.
I'm Nick.
I'm Joel.
I'm Bryant.
This was
3 Idiots and a Bible Podcast
plus
and an
Bride.
honorary 4th idiot. Wow.
Bye bye.